What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Blood on the Razor Wire TV, where we bring it to you real and we bring it to you raw. Today, we got a brother on that spent 16 years of his life in that California prison system. He was not a prisoner, but instead, a cop, made his way up to being a lieutenant. We're going to talk about prison politics. He's got his own YouTube channel. I'm going to let him introduce that today. You guys can go check him out. I think he's got some interesting stories over there. But anyway, Hector, tell the people who you are, talk a little bit about you, and tell them what your YouTube channel is as well.
What's up, man? Thank you for having me. My YouTube channel is That Prison Guard. Yeah, I just resigned from the California Department of Correction after 16 years, dude.
16 years in the California Department of Corrections, a dangerous place filled with politics. A lot of them California politics are in the federal prison system. I think you're a good dude to have on because you're going to give us some insight on all of them politics and what it's really like over there. What put you on the path to become a cop in California?
Basically, dude, my dad joined in 1993. I'm from a small town in the Imperial Valley, Southern California, and pretty much everybody from that small town, that's what they do. Talipatria State Prison and Centinela State Prison.
I see you got that infantry sign back there. Were you in the military too?
Yeah, dude, I joined in 2002, right after high school, 17 years old.
17 years old in the military. Were you overseas?
Yeah, I went to Iraq in 2004 to 2005, 13-month deployment.
13 months. I'm sure you've seen some violence over there, some dangerous things.
Car bombs, roadside bombs, ambushes, yeah, the whole nine.
Let me ask you something, because being that you were a prison guard, I'm sure you worked in the guard towers, you made it all the way up to a lieutenant before you retired. You ever have to take a life over there?
Yeah, April 15, 2004.
April 15, 2004. What's it like, man, when you have to, when you have to just, finish someone? I mean, those were the enemies back then. What goes through your mind? Does it hurt you, or is it just another day at the job? What's it like and you're young, what's it like for a young man to have to pull that trigger?
What is day it's not like another day of the job, but it kind of is. Everything was gray area, man. It wasn't black and white. The bad guys were wearing uniforms, so it was very sketchy, dude, overall.
When you did that, did it bother you? Did it affect you when you slept at night?
I think it bothered me more when I came back. Yeah, it did affect me there, but it really hit home when I got back.
Tell us how that kind of happened. I mean, do you go into a compound? What happens?
Like the actual shooting itself?
Yeah.
Well, our camp got mortared, dude. Every day and every night, our camp got mortared or rocketed, and our job as infantry was to go out and find the bad guys, the insurgents, and we ended up being in a high-speed chase, so to say, with a white pickup truck. We kind of had him cornered, right? It was the guy responsible for mortaring us, and everybody took off running in separate ways. Fired some few warning shots. They kept running, and I hit the dude. I hit the dude once.
One shot, and that was it for him.
He bled out.
Did you look in his face after he bled out?
I actually took a picture of the guy. I actually have a picture with a disposable camera.
Well, I don't want you to show it to us on YouTube, all right?
Yeah, I got you, man.
Did it affect you, or did you think like, damn, this dude had a son, or maybe he had a daughter, and they're growing up without parents?
The crazy part about it was actually at the guy's house. And the crazy part is that I shook the dad's hand afterwards. I didn't even know. It was just, the sister was fighting, the sister was crying. The dad came up to me and shook my hand. I just thought that was the weirdest thing ever.
Why the hell would he shake your hand?
I don't know. He must have felt something. It must have been a weird aura. I don't know.
So you end up leaving the military, and now you come home, you're in California, and you say, you know what, I got to get a job. You go into the California Department of Corrections. How old were you?
22 years old, man. The year was 2006.
22 years old, man. Were you nervous going into that prison system? Were you like, damn, I'm sure you've heard the stories. They're stabbing, they're killing, there's gangs, it's racially segregated.
I was nervous because it's kind of like, kind of hard to sleep the night before, kind of like your first day at school, but worse.
So what's it like that first day when you walk in there?
You kind of like, you're on edge for sure. You're on edge. You're trying not to step on anybody's toes, us or them. You're just trying to navigate. It's obvious that we're new, new uniform, and observing, a lot of observing.
Who runs that system? Because, I mean, I've been in prisons where I felt like the inmates ran it. I've been in prisons where I felt like the staff ran it. I've been in prisons where the administration ran it. When you walked in there, did the police have control? If there's something going on, do they listen to you? I mean, just tell us a little bit about that.
When I first started, pretty much the inmates had control. The inmates had control as far as, they weren't running wild, they weren't running amok, but they were doing what they wanted to do as far as, making business, selling dope, conducting stabbings. And in the cases when they would attack us, yeah, they would attack us.
They would attack you, and, I mean, who wins?
At the end of the day, we're going to win at the end of the day. But in the beginning, we're going to lose.
Have you ever seen officers just get destroyed in there, stabbed? I mean, just annihilated?
In my 16 years, I've seen more than my fair share, man. More, yeah, stabbed, stomped out, kicked, knocked out. 16 years is a long time.
What's the starting base pay in California for a correctional officer?
Easily, Brad spanking you $80,000, $90,000 a year.
I mean, I was expecting somewhere in like the $40,000 range.
No, it's a tough job. It's California, so they pay us actually, I think, more than like the rest of the states. The training's great, the equipment's great, it's top of the line, so I think they kind of equate that.
When you're working there, right, you ever see, and I mean, just call it what it is. I mean, you walked away now, and I mean, I know that there's this code where you don't want to talk bad about your coworkers, but I really want someone to come on here and just tell it how it is. I spent 18 years of my life there. I know how it is. I call it how it is on both sides. You ever see cops do messed up stuff in there?
Yeah, messed up as far as like out of line or out of pocket. Yeah. But one thing I want to preach or even say is that if we saw that, or especially if I was around, we would yank our own people back. Meaning, we would either pull them aside and check them, right? Because people have to get checked. People get checked on all sides, right? And it's either you check them or we check them. So yeah, they would just talk to people disrespectfully. And you want to keep it real during incidents. Yeah, they would kind of go overboard, I should say.
So during incidents, sometimes they kick the guy while he's cuffed, punch him in the face. I mean, stuff like that.
Yeah, but here's a big golden rule, man. Here's a big golden rule, and it was taught to us by a lot of OGs. Once the handcuffs come on, it's game over. It's game over. And that was the rule.
The rules aren't always followed, though, right?
Yeah, that's the truth. That's the truth.
I mean, I write for Criminal Legal News, Prisoners Legal News. I wrote plenty of articles where cops take guys. I mean, you just had a guy, I think it was in Alabama. They froze him to death. They put him in the chair and just left him in there, and he froze to death, and he died. So, I mean, what we're talking about really does happen. I mean, you've seen these cops. These are street cops. They beat that kid in, where was it, Tennessee, Tyree Nichols or whatever. I mean, this stuff does happen, bro. So that's what I'm asking you. I mean, are they doing stuff like that in California?
So what that would look like, right? So what it would look like would be a staff assault, right? We're getting attacked, right? And then, like I said, initially they're going to win. And then the tide turns. People start coming. Help starts coming. Yeah, adrenaline is still running high. Anger is rage. It's rage. It's what it is. And yeah, they're going to be, will there be instances where, an extra 1 or 2 or 3 punches or kicks get thrown after the bell rings? Yes.
That's all fair enough. I mean, fair answer. Let me ask you this. In federal prison, the Southsiders, the Norteños, these are pretty serious groups, man. These guys are militant. These guys get busy. They got a policy. I believe their policy is it don't matter if you're the warden or the cop. If you do something to them, they're going to do some shit back to you, and they're all going to come, right?
Yeah, it's all bad, man. It's sketchy. They have a saying. I'm Mexican, so I can say this. They say you mess with one bean, you get the whole burrito. That's the saying.
I thought, well, I hope YouTube don't bang us for that. No, it's all good. I understand that. These are serious dudes. Were there ever times in your career where you were like a little worried, nervous, like maybe you disrespected someone or someone you might think, man, so they might come to my house or anything like that?
The crazy thing is every time I've been involved in any type of situation like that, it was never a result of me disrespecting anybody, really. The scary thing is I've been surrounded numerous times by the Southern Hispanic. I didn't work with Norteños because they were up north, Northern California. I was down south, strictly Southerners. And I've gotten surrounded way more times than it's definitely sketchy, man. It's like a standoff.
When they surround you, what happens? They're demanding something, and are you backing down? Are you standing firm? Are you being respectful? What's going on?
My military career might have played a major key role in this portion of it. I never went outnumbered. Clearly, I was numbered. Probably me and a partner, and I don't know, 20, 30, 40, 50 dudes, like a U or a wall. I never went for my baton. I never went for my pepper spray. I kind of just postured up and like clenched my fist. Not like in a boxing stance, but more like, okay, it's gonna crack, it's gonna crack. Not a damn thing.
So you end up making lieutenant. You're probably making 120, maybe 140,000 a year. You ever think like, damn, man, my life is on the line here every day I come to work?
It was cool. It was cool up until like when I came back to my rack. I came back kind of like not a loose cannon, but like I guess you could say disregard for my own personal safety. I wasn't. Death did not scare me at all. I had to trick my mind into believing that I was already dead in order to survive through Iraq. So, yeah, I never wanted to get seriously wounded or maimed. Hell, like I was afraid of always getting sliced. I was like, man, I don't want to mess this up, right? I don't want to get sliced. It is horrible. But once I got engaged, once I got a wife, once I had a child, it's like, hey, Hector, slow down, pump the brakes. This isn't about you anymore. Stop being selfish.
You ever been involved in any riots over there?
Numerous, both on the floor while they're all cracking off, and then a couple times in the gun post, in a gun tower with less lethal rounds.
What was the first riot you were involved in? Who was it? What groups?
First one was Southern Hispanic Mexicans against the blacks. And I don't know if I mentioned yet, but California is definitely racially segregated when it comes to the inmate population and themselves, right? I think that's different from the rest of the United States. And it kicked off in two areas of the yard. One in the building and one in the gym. That was the first one I came into, and it was wild, man. I would go in there telling everybody to get down. Ain't nobody got down at all.
Well, there's an issue like that, right? Do the whites ride with the Southern Mexicans, or how's that go?
It depends. It depends on the politics at the time. If they're allies at the time, if they're beefing at the time, right? As president, politics is money, respect, and it's I never personally seen a riot where the whites assisted the Mexicans in attacking anybody else, or vice versa. It does happen though.
They're in there fighting, they're riding. What's going on? Are they stabbing each other? They're hitting each other with padlocks? What's going on?
On the level 3 yards, right, because it goes level 1 through 4 in California, 4 being the max. On the level 3, you're going to have weapons, right? But it's not going to be nowhere near like a level 4. All right, level 4, mandatory weapons, no doubt. Level 3, yeah, they got the lock in the sock, the soap in the sock. They're picking up our trash cans that we throw trash in, our phones that we have on the desk. Just grabbing everything they can, just throwing it.
When you go into a riot like that, are you nervous? And what's going through your mind? Is your adrenaline pumping? Are you excited? Like, yeah, we're about to get busy. Or are you like, damn, I hope I don't get killed?
I've been in a lot of hostile situations where the human mind does what it does, tunnel vision, auditory exclusion, right? So I think the more I got exposed to that, the better off I was. Initially, yeah, man, I was like a chicken with my head cut off, just like running around not knowing what to do.
I asked you that, and I want to ask you, after a riot like that, are the cops standing around like, yo, bro, did you see, because, we live in a culture where we love fighting and UFC and boxing and military combat. I mean, are the guards like kicking it afterwards like, yo, bro, you see dude hit that dude? Did you see me body slam that other prisoner? I mean, is that the type of stuff that's being talked about after?
Right after is a cleanup, man. Right after is a cleanup mess. You got to put everybody away. You got to do the medical treatment. You got to feed these guys. A lot of the time it was like during the evening meal. So you still got to feed them afterwards, which is, thing of the butt. But write reports after all that, then we're, chopping it up like, man, did you see that dude sticking that guy? Did you see? Yeah, we talk like that for sure.
From a cop's perspective, you're working in these prisons, we're all human beings. You ever leave the job and feel bad? You ever see a guy get stabbed and be like, damn, man, does it ever affect you? Or is it just your job?
No, unfortunately, it made me very callous. And I didn't know it at the time. But yeah, there's times, man, I've seen a lot of dudes get stabbed in the neck. I've seen a lot of dudes get beaten to a pulp. I've seen dudes get murdered. I've seen dudes overdose. I've seen dudes hang themselves. And it's kind of, my mind, I had to pretend that it was like nothing, right? To develop that callous.
So there was never a time when you felt bad for someone, for another prisoner?
Yeah, you feel bad, like, man, that's unfortunate, like, damn, that's horrible, like, the way that dude went out, like, that's all bad, not cool. Right?
You ever worked the visiting room?
Yeah, as a young cop, I would pastor the visiting room.
What's it like when you see a woman, right? Mexican woman, Hispanic woman, black woman, white woman, doesn't matter, but we'll say Mexican. You're Mexican, we'll talk about that. You see a young Mexican girl come there. She's got 2 kids, and she's on the visit with her husband. He's serving 20 years. Does it ever hit you inside like, damn, man, these little kids are growing up without a dad?
Yeah, seeing the kids. One time I saw there was a 21-year-old inmate. He overdosed on like heroin, adjuvant heroin. He was in the hospital in the ICU, hooked up to the ventilator and everything. And the grandpa goes in there, looks at him, at his own grandson, and said, what a waste, and walked out. I remember that hit me like, man, wow.
Did the grandfather try to talk to you or anything?
No, I think the grandfather was just over it. Yeah, that kid must have probably put that whole family through a lot, and that probably grandpa was just over it and came in, looked, said, what a waste, and just left. And I was taken aback. Man.
What's one of the most craziest things you've ever seen working in that system for 16 years?
There was a couple incidents. One was 4 white inmates brutally stabbed 2 white inmates. It kicked off at the same time, and they used the ice pick type weapons. Yeah. Probably like 7 and 8 inches were like the actual stabbing portion of it. Yeah, man, they broke these dudes' eye sockets, stomped out their backs, stabbed them all up. They didn't die though. They didn't die. But they were close.
In your perspective, you're working there. Who was the most dangerous, most serious gang in the California prison system?
Numbers were the Southern Hispanics. They rolled deep, right? And then the whites, if they wanted you dead, you're going to be dead. But that goes for the Mexicans too. So it was a toss.
But I'm sure there's more Southern Mexicans in California prison than whites, right?
By far.
So do you believe they were the most dangerous?
Dangerous would be the whites, because it doesn't take many to do what they got to do. The Southerners, it's going to take a lot. You know what I mean? They're going to come in a swarm. They're going to swarm you. And
what about the black gangs over there?
my interaction with the black gangs, you got the Bloods, you got the Crips. From what I observed, they were always fighting each other, man. It didn't, I couldn't grasp those politics, man. My thought would be like, hey, why don't you guys just band together and go after these guys? But there was a lot of infighting.
Why do you think dudes don't stick together in prison? Like, why are they beefing with each other every day instead of coming together for a common good?
Now it's changed, man. It's all about making money. It was a very violent place. It still is violent, but I see that they let a lot of things slide now, man. They let a lot of things slide that were in the past they would not have let things slide, man. Over money.
So now I know you walked away from this job. You're making a good living. You got a family, right? Are you married?
Married and a 4-year-old daughter. Priority right now.
I know you said earlier you were married and once you had a child. You walked away from this job making over $100,000 a year. I mean, when you left, did you have a plan or did you just say, you know what, I'm done?
Oh, man, I'm kind of spontaneous. I'm kind of impulsive, but this was not an overnight decision, dude. Like, it became very unethical from my managers, from my administration, where I would fight the good fight, and I kept getting shut down and bound. You can't speak the truth. Like right now, I'm speaking the truth. You can't go out and speak the truth while you're in. You're going to get fired. You're going to get shit canned.
So they can just fire you if they want?
Yeah, frivolous investigations.
Union?
The union, I've seen the union get tore up, man, over and over again.
So what was your plan? You didn't just walk out and not have a job, did you?
I got some military benefits coming in. I initially got a job like as a security guard right off the bat, and then I started a YouTube channel. I started a business. So I kind of just been hitting it, dude. I kind of been hitting it, and just trying to survive, hustling, grinding.
What kind of business?
Mindset, like a personal trainer, right? So I tell people, because I got 12 years of sobriety, dude. So I'm all about helping people get on the right track. So I do that.
From all the things that you see, man, were there times when you went home from work and had a hard time sleeping at night?
Yeah. When I first promoted to sergeant in 2015, that second prison I touched down at, a white inmate actually tied with bed sheets a weapon to his hand and ended up stabbing one of my officers in the building, which is sketchy because he can't drop it, right? He pretty much took it all the way. And I was a sergeant. I responded, earlier we were talking about rage and stuff like that. Yeah, that was an attempted murder on a peace officer for sure. The dude probably learned his lesson not to do that again, right? But that night, I could not sleep at all.
Why couldn't you sleep? Did you think, man, it could have been you?
Adrenaline. And I got off, after writing reports and everything, I got off at 4:30 in the morning. I'm in the shower and I was wired, dude. I was up. And I had been up the whole day before, the adrenaline.
I know you've seen some wicked shit in Iraq, right? And I'm sure you've seen some brutally violent hand-to-hand combat in prison. In your perspective, because I say this and some people get mad at me, I feel like when you're in prison, we're in a war ourselves. We're in a war inside of a war. The violence, I mean, do you think they're the same but different? If you know what I mean?
It's the same, man. Like, let's just take it down to like tribal, caveman, one person taking another person's life. Yeah, I just think it's more personal, way more personal in prison because you're within arm's reach. I never did it, but you're stabbing people. Like you're feeling that chest bone crush. You're feeling that lung get punctured. And man, it seems like lungs were punctured left and right in there in prison. Yeah, that seems extremely personal.
So the violence is just as brutal, but in just different ways.
They're both brutal. They're both bloody.
Now that you've been away from the job, I mean, does it bother you sometimes at night? Now, can you sleep? I mean, do things play in your mind? Do you see things? I mean, PTSD?
I'm not like as jumpy as I was or hyper vigilant, man. I think I'm just so tired and so exhausted. I kind of just like, finally resting, from being on that high alert, peaking for all those years. But before, dude, always looking over my shoulder. Um, my sleep is disrupted for sure. Like I wake up in the middle of the night when I probably shouldn't be. Overall, it's like my emotions, man. Like wife, my wife, right? We recently had like a death in the family like 2 years ago, and I was just kind of so callous, so like emotionless, and that affected a marriage.
I think prison does that. Whether you're a cop, administration, you're a prisoner, when you see that type of violence, I feel like sometimes you become cold-hearted. You become, like you said, the word calloused. But I believe that it's more of, you know what? You just get used to it, man. So it doesn't affect you. Sometimes my wife says stuff to me like, man, I can't believe, every day it's, what's going on in the news, and it just doesn't affect you like it affects normal people. Do you feel the same way?
I agree, dude. Like this is the way I've seen people die in this manner: roadside bombs, getting shot, overdose, suicide, getting stabbed, getting beaten up. It's like I've seen all these people die this way. I don't think like an average person endures that or observes that. And none of this was by design. None of this was like, I wish I could just be like normal. Like, hey, if I see something sad, I will feel the emotion of sadness.
Have you ever been out with your family and seen a former prisoner or anything like that?
No, but my dad did in Oakland. So I don't know if I mentioned, but my dad was a prison guard in the past. We were in Oakland, man. Oakland is cracking, Auden cracking. And a guy recognized him from back in the day. Thank God my dad apparently was respectful to this individual. Just shook my dad's hand. And my dad like, hey, hurry up, get in the cars. Let's go.
You ever worry about that stuff? I mean, not outside of work, like, damn, hope I don't run into none of these cats.
Nah, man, I was a fair dude. I was extremely fair. I think it was as a result of seeing all that carnage in my life. It was like, man, I just want to chill. This boy just wants to chill and drink coffee and relax. But yeah, so I never came at anybody crazy.
I got to ask you this. Being that you're Mexican, you're from California, because I don't know how it works there. You ever feel like the Mexicans or prisoners over there that are Hispanic, they feel like, yo, man, you're supposed to look out a little bit. I don't mean just bringing in contraband, but like letting them slide on some shit. Where you ever felt like they felt that way?
They never got at me race-wise, but they felt like, not entitled, but like, hey, don't be tripping on that, right? Quit tripping on that. Not that I used to trip much, but when I was new in the department. So, kind of more of a go-getter. And they kind of looked at me like, really, dude? Like that.
You ever have any issues with anybody, any shot callers or anything like that?
Yeah, man, I got tested. I was brand new. I got tested numerous times by the level 4s, by the max security guys. I think that's part of the procedure. They see a new face. They want to know, hey, what can I get? What can I gain? How far can I push this individual? And I got pushed.
Who was pushing you?
One time was with the Mexicans. Come to find out, this dude was an actual shot caller, man. Years later, I ended up running this guy's last name or his number in the system, and I'm like, whoa, I didn't know at this time, but yeah, like I shouldn't have done this then. It was 2007. We had some words. He called me the B word, right? And I ended up taking off my belt and challenging him to a fight. Thank God he didn't take me up on it because I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a plan all the way through. I did tell my partners, don't hit your alarm. And they kind of looked at me like I'm crazy. And,
I mean, back in the day, they used to give fair ones sometimes, at least in the federal prison system, which is, a lot like the California system. It's racially segregated. It's big on respect, things like that. So let me ask you this. You ever see a cop take off his belt and get a one-on-one?
I never seen it, but it happened. For sure it happened. It's not something we talk about. You're definitely not supposed to be doing it, I'll tell you that much. But yeah, it happens. Why to this day it still happens.
You know it happens.
100%. 100%.
You ever personally have to give somebody a couple shots after, a situation?
There was there was a lot of staff assaults, right? We never, for the most part, wherever I was at, right? I can only speak on my perspective. We didn't go around like thumping people up or beating people up or stuff like that. But occasionally where it cracked off, yeah, emotions were high, and like I was talking about earlier, man. It's I'll tell you what. Every time I use force, and I use force a lot, right? Not by design. Again, not by design, man. It just is situations. They never put unnecessary or excessive use of force allegations on me. Everybody kind of understood what had just happened.
So you're the lieutenant. Someone assaults one of your staff members. Do you look the other way if they, kick the shit out of them, I guess?
Yeah, meaning I don't even go out there. There's a sergeant for that, and I don't know how else to say it, man. I think it got to the point where the least I know, the better. Not that they were doing that, because there's cameras now, and audio-on cameras, and the whole system is like on camera. But because if you see something, now you're getting dragged into it. That's the problem with our administration. Just your mere presence there. You could be looking this way. Everything could be happening behind you. They can be like, "Oh, you were there. You saw it. We're gonna get you in trouble." I'm like, "No, that happened behind me. They weren't by it."
So you end up leaving. You're kind of tired of the administration. Once you leave, the other people that are there, I mean, they know you're leaving, right? You put in a 2-week notice.
Nah, dude, I kept that under wraps, man, because one thing that people don't know about our side, right, the correctional staff, there's a lot of drama within our own ranks, man. Haters, sabotagers, snitches in our side, man. And it's not one of those things you don't ever want to tell nobody your plans. There's somebody's going to sabotage your plan.
How do you guys feel about other cops that snitch?
They kind of get ostracized, to be honest with you.
That's kind of ironic. Everybody's a cop, but if they tell on someone, then they're a snitch.
It's kind of like a code, right? And a code, I'm not talking about like a green wall or the blue line, or it's more like, and I'm not talking about like misconduct involving inmates. I'm talking about like, in prison, we can't have our cell phones in there. It's against the rule. Right? So we whip out our cell phone and somebody else sees, and they go to run off and tell the higher ups, do the rat, right? He had no business getting involved in something that didn't even involve him. But a lot of people want to get the promotion. They want to look good to their bosses, so they'll throw somebody else under the bus. A lot of that.
Some people are watching this right now like, that's an oxymoron. Oh, I mean, it is what it is. I understand, there's politics and everything, especially with correctional officers and prisoners and guards and cops. They got their own, things going on. But anyway, man, you've been through it. You've been through a war. You've been through a war inside of a war, inside prison. You've seen a lot of things. You've seen people probably throw their lives away, young kids in there with life sentences. So before we go, what message would you give to a youngster, man, in California?
A youngster who like running the streets or running the game and thinks that he's gonna make a name for himself and or put in work, so to say. At the end of the day, everybody's a pawn. And at the end of the day, everybody's a pawn, to include myself on the chessboard. There's always going to be somebody above you making you do what you need to do or what they want you to do. So, yeah, you're going to answer to somebody.
So pretty much make the right choices, man. You can end up in California in a riot, end up dead. You can end up serving the rest of your life in prison. And you know what? I like to do things. I like to bring people on from both sides, prisoners. We had cops on here, judges, gang members, former gang members. And, bringing you on, and especially California, it gives people a different perspective. So I appreciate you coming on. I want you to go ahead, man, talk a little bit about your YouTube channel. Let the people know where they can find you.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me on. Yeah, I got on board on YouTube like 2 months ago, that prison guard. And it was honestly mostly to come out and kind of just air out the dirty laundry of what our management and administration was doing, man. So a lot of my episodes, you'll see me take shots at them, either directly or indirectly, and because they felt untouchable. So here I had to resign and leave the job because my ethics and my morals meant that much to me.
I just seen your hand. I think it's your left hand. Did something happen in Afghanistan?
all my tattoo.
Oh, okay. It's a tattoo. I didn't know if it was something. I thought maybe you were injured.
I didn't get this till after I left the job. Not that I didn't have anything against tattoos, but I had always a professional look to myself. And afterwards, I'm like, it's time.
Well, hey, it is what it is. Anyway, listen, man, I appreciate you coming on. I hope people enjoyed this video. I hope they share it. I'm going to put the links for your channel up so people can go check you out. Go check him out. Check out what he's doing. And again, man, I appreciate you coming on. I wish you all the best. I hope your new business works out. I'd like to see you make over 150 or 40, whatever you were making over there, so you can continue to take care of your family and be the best husband and best father you could be, bro. So thank you for coming on. I'm going to tell people, man, with respect, load on the Razor Wire TV. Until tomorrow, we're out.